Hello, everybody. This is the Pro Wrestling Wire podcast, part of ProWrestlingWire.net. This is the Professor Rick Del Santo. Of course, I have a very special guest here with me today, all the way from Alliance-Wrestling.com, and of course, the Alliance Guys podcast, all the way from California, J Cal. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, brother? I'm just glad you didn't call me Kevin Owens.
No,
I
that's not
thought
my
you were
deal.
I thought you were setting me up for. I was like, oh,
I can make enough of those jokes online while you're live on TikTok,
there we go.
But,
That'll work.
So, and I don't want to harass you any more than your followers do already. So,
I appreciate that.
yeah. So, of course, you were here once before, and it was a long time ago. Probably my first or second year of podcasting. So, it's been quite some time. Yeah, it is.
No.
So, yeah, I could look it up actually now while we're chatting here. This is I'm trying to remember. Where's my videos? Here we go. I'm gonna look it up as I meant to go look this up, but hang on. I'm gonna search for it too. Jesus. Okay. I know I'm not speaking while okay, hang on. I don't even know how I put you in here.
Is it the Alliance? Is it J Cal?
That's a good question. I typed in J Cal. Let's see if that worked. No, it's not in here. Either way, it's been about I lived in my old home. So that's how far off it is. It's been 4 years since I've lived in this home. And
Wow.
So it's been a long time. And I just remember going over a lot of the history of the NWA and stuff like that back on during that time period. And of course, your history with being an NWA historian and journalist, because you've been around for now. And if I remember correctly, this has been about 18 years for you, correct? If I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, really even longer than that. We started podcasting in like 2007.
Okay.
But as far as covering the NWA, the Alliance blog is about 18 years. You are correct on that. But like I was also really involved with covering the NWA from the outside, at least here in Southern California with SoCal Uncensored going back to like 2000, 2001. And SoCal Uncensored is a website, not to be confused with the trio from Ring of Honor and AEW, but we were a website going back to 99 that covered just the Southern California independent wrestling scene. And it grew from there from 99, and it's still running today. It's obviously not the place that it was, but I would write about the NWA even back then, and even interviewing some of the talent that was working for David Marquez out here in Southern California and that portion of the NWA.
Now, I found the date. It was August 18th, 2021 was your first time here. Actually, and last time here. Yeah.
That was almost like we should have waited a couple weeks to do it. It could have been an anniversary show.
I know, right? If I could found that date, I would have said hold off and done it. That's happened to me a couple times actually. I've had repeat guests come on recently, and it was like really close to the date unknowingly. So that's pretty wild. So, yeah. So, when you're talking about the David Marquez's NWA, before we dive into what the subject matter of this is, you're talking about NWA when he was doing Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, correct?
Right. So the short end of it is yes, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood was the NWA for all intents and purposes, similarly to like what Jim Crockett Promotions was to the NWA back in the 80s. Like, yes, there were other members of the NWA, but no one was more visible than what Dave was doing. Initially, he had been working for the Inoki Dojo, Antonio Inoki. He was Inoki's proxy vote for the NWA Board of Directors, meaning when it came time to vote for things, David Marquez was voting on behalf of Inoki during those board meetings back in the day. And it just so happened that the California membership was up. Dave bought in, and they did. It started off as the New Japan USA TV tapings that were here in Southern California. This was in 2004.
Right.
And, it was like almost like a hybrid show of Um, Oddly enough, Ring of Honor guys like Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Christopher Daniels as Curry Man, combined with some of the local guys here in Southern California, Adam Pearce. They had brought in Jay Bradley from Chicago. CM Punk was on commentary, and then there was a slew of Japanese wrestlers from New Japan. Many I can't remember off the top of my head, but Togi Makabe was one of the guys. Heat, who was the World Junior Heavyweight Champion, was one of the guys. And then Rocky Romero, TJ Perkins, some of the guys that were training at the Inoki Dojo kind of were there as well. And that started off one part. And after like a couple of episodes of this New Japan USA, then that turned into NWA Hollywood, where they were bringing in, it was a more less Japanese centric, less New Japan guys. In fact, no New Japan guys, but the same roster of guys who were coming in here from out of state and guys who were local, like Chad Collier, Aaron Aguilera, also known as the Hardcore Kid. A lot of these guys started working for the NWA in that capacity. And then they were doing shows. They were touring national venues. Like they were doing shows like in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona. And like at the time, no other NWA member was leaving its territory.
Right.
And when you would do that, you have to, adhere to the rules of the board of directors, meaning you're going to put money in the pocket of the promoter who's there in the local area. You're going to book some of his guys on the show. But by and large, it was your show in that area. And like I said, they were running in, small to medium-sized venues, 1,000, 1,500, some of them as much as 5,000, like the Orleans Arena. They were running all over the place. And that, to me, that was the Dave Marquez, the beginning of his NWA that lasted all the way to 2012.
And during that time period, it's when the NWA was getting kind of a lot of it. Almost, I wouldn't say it was back to its prominence, but it was probably some of the more shining moments it had in quite a number of years, correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we look at it, in 2006, they started doing these live events, and TNA still had control of the NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Right.
So at the same time, you had TNA events with the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and then you had these NWA shows that featured, it was like kind of like 50-50. Half the talent was NWA recognizable names: Damian Wayne, Chance Prophet, Drew Onyx, Adam Pearce at the time, Carl the Machine Gun Anderson, Joey Ryan, and then you would have a very heavy lucha influence like El Hijo de Santo, Blue Demon Jr., La Parca, Nicho El Millionaire. They were using all those guys as well. And they were even kind of incorporating a Wrestling Society X into these shows too from MTV, because
right.
Dave Marquez happened to be a part of that production as well. So it was this kind of weird dichotomy of, local indies, guys who used to wrestle for WSX, and guys who were big in lucha. And I felt like those were really good days. They were selling out venues that were, again, larger than what the NWA is doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's times where you watch the modern NWA and it looks really brutal, right? I mean, as far as like attendance, and it seems to, over the last, I don't know, few TV tapings has picked up quite a bit. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, so they found a gem with Dothan, Alabama, and I don't know who gets the credit. I don't know who gets the credit for it. I want to say Brian Idol, because so much of the Carnieville series that they put out painted Brian Idol as the official like booker of the NWA. Right. So he was the one finding these venues. So Dothan, Alabama was a hit. And they've had several events there. Looks gorgeous on TV. Forney, Texas, I have been in that venue. It was okay. I felt like they don't really structure it well enough for the live attendance there. Now, maybe it's changed since I was there the last time, but when I was there, I didn't like it. And then, of course, the 2300 Arena, synonymous with wrestling in the
Yeah.
Northeast. I mean, not just ECW, but all the copycats that came after that, MLW, and anyone else who's ever ran the
I
not
mean,
Hammerstein, excuse me,
uh,
2300.
Chikara ran there,
Yeah,
3PW. You can go on and on. Now, Monster Factory ran there. I mean, those are just three names. I could probably actually. I think recently didn't NXT run there,
yeah,
I believe that AEW is about to do a residency there, from what I understand as well, which is
yeah.
just showing the importance of that building. And don't forget, ECW was also in NWA territory, like in the beginning of them running there as well, as when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. I think even TNA did stuff there too. So, like,
Yep.
you're right. That is hallowed ground. It is very sacred to the art of pro wrestling. And the fact that NWA has done two really big shows there in the last 2 years. We're not talking like in the heyday of the NWA, but we're talking in 2024 and 2025. Two really, in my opinion, successful events at that 2300 arena. And you and I were there in 2024 for the anniversary
Right.
show. And I was concerned. I looked around and I thought, man, this is going to be a dud. And as you saw and watched that line just grow and grow and grow, and I guess there was a ton of walk-up sales because they basically sold out the venue.
Yeah, I think I was about halfway down the building from where the door stands when I got there, and you guys and all that stuff had already been there, and then behind me, the line just kept growing and growing and growing. And when you walked in there after a while, it was really packed, and I was. I had not been in that building since I think 1995, 96 ish.
Wow.
So, it's a kind of a reconstructed inside as to what it was before. And
Yeah.
it's a lot less dumpy than it was before as well. It's really improved. And I got to tell you, like, I was just really impressed because it was like not a million, but there was a lot of people in there. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. Because I was like, the NWA does not come up to my area very often. Obviously, you travel a little bit more for them, so they don't make their way up to the northeastern part of the United States. However, they have twice now, with the Crockett Cup being the second, and then of course they're going to be in New York in just a couple weeks. So, so it was kind of exciting to actually get to this era of the NWA television or production. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up having fun. I got to meet you guys live in person, the Alliance guys. So that was quite fun. So that was probably the highlight of the day. And besides, obviously, the event itself, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it was not a bad show by any stretch. But it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was like one of the best shows I'd ever been to.
The sad thing with the NWA is, and it's because there's a lot of bias. Like, I'm a huge NWA fan, and I want to see them succeed.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to look at a realistic, like, what is this show versus what the NWA has been, right?
Right.
Because I felt like this year's Crockett Cup, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I'm sure, was a banger. Like, I felt like it hit on a lot of key metrics that made me very happy when I left. And I'll say that the anniversary show, in my opinion, was not as good, but still pretty good for an NWA show.
Yeah.
But there's that caveat, that qualifier, that good for an NWA show. Like, it should just be good. We should just be able to say this was a good event, this was a bad event. And unfortunately, I have been able to say a lot of NWA events have been good. But again, talking about 2025 Crockett Cup in the 2300 arena in Philadelphia was a good show.
We'll get to that in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about the Roku debut, which features matches from the Crockett Cup. But when you're saying that, like, you spend many years talking about, like, I've also defended the three letters of the NWA for many, many years, growing up being an NWA fan, following the NWA through the 90s, when it was kind of off the map as a major wrestling force. And them, of course, being part of TNA, I defended them and always thought that, to me, this was my wrestling, was those three letters, the NWA. Regardless regardless, and I'd always try to seek out some of the videos from some of the various territories internationally. If I can get my hands on them, I'd watch them. Green Mountain Wrestling and all that other stuff. That's just a random thing I just popped out of my head that I just remember them. So, I would get these videos all the time because they were NWA. I watched NWA Wildside every Saturday night on my TV because that was one of my favorite TV shows. It was an NWA territory and it was quite enjoyable. So there was, for the first time in my entire life, watching wrestling for probably just about over 40 years, late last year, earlier this year, it got to a point where I couldn't really watch the NWA like that anymore. But I'd have to say that I guess you could say it's your fault that you brought me back in a way when you when you asked me to come on aboard as part of the Alliance guys that you were going to be away, and I filled in for you. That I said, okay, I hadn't actually watched the NWA for a little while, so I started watching again. I said, okay, it was a hard watch, but I watched it. And I don't want to speak bad about those three letters, but there's like a lot of moments in the last couple years of Billy Corgan's NWA that you watch it and you're just like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is going on? And it continues and continues. But I do have positive stuff to say. I will have positive stuff to say. I swear, it's not always negative.
Well, I mean, even the staunchest supporter of those three letters have to acknowledge the drop off. Like you can't. Nobody should be able to look you in the eye today and say the NWA is the greatest wrestling promotion in the world, because that's just not true. Right. I will tell you that the NWA has great talent.
Yes,
and I don't think I have to lie about that. I don't feel like I'm lying about that. When I hear Thrillbilly Silas Mason cut a promo on a 10 o'clock a.m. news channel in Dothan, Alabama, that guy makes me want to go buy a ticket. 100%. And when you see the kind of matches that Kenzie Page can have, or you see, how great Tom Latimer is, like, you don't have to get me excited about the talent, but some of the convoluted storylines, some of the backstage segments, it's not easy to watch. And what's ironic to me is that William Patrick Corgan has said many times that he grew up on the Chicago style of wrestling, right? Like, he watched the AWA, and I'm sure he probably watched the WWA as well.
Right.
And if that was his inspiration, I think the NWA would be in a lot better shape. I feel like he kind of has this fever dream of what professional wrestling should be, and that is combined with what they can actually produce, and that's this generation's NWA. Some of it's good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, some of it's good, some of it's bad, but you can 100% blame Billy Corgan for the good and the bad.
Right. There's times where I don't, and I guess this is probably a terrible comparison. It's like watching like a less raunchy version of Vince Russo booking in a way, as far as it's just what he's putting on has nothing to do with professional wrestling sometimes, or whatever comes out, you're just sitting there like, what the F is going on here?
Yeah.
And that would happen every time something, during the Russo era, WWF and WCW all day.
Yeah.
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 So tonight premiered the Roku debut of NWA Powerrr. This is something that NWA fans has been waiting for since the announcement was about 2 months ago, correct? I think.
Yeah. So I know. So at the Crockett Cup, they did announce. Well, I mean, at that point, at the Crockett Cup, Wrestling Central was already announced. It hadn't come into action yet, but the key principle was there. Like, yes, there will be a Roku channel. Yes, it'll feature NWA and WOW talent. We even during a Q&A that Billy Corgan had before the Crockett Cup, he acknowledged that, and he talked briefly about it and said that there might be greater opportunities coming soon, without really kind of giving his full hand. Obviously, the news broke, like you said, about 2 months ago, and there has been a lot of excitement. Some palatable excitement. some people are over exaggerating what this deal means. Some people might be under exaggerating what this deal means. I think it was a big step forward from being on the X app,
Oh yeah,
and has potential to be a very profitable move for Billy. And maybe not profitable, but now seeing a bigger return on his investment. You know,
yeah,
you and I are both look at our YouTube numbers. We see how much we earn on YouTube, and granted, we don't have the viewership that the NWA has, but we also know that look, it's not great. You know, neither one of us are quitting our day jobs based on our performance on YouTube, and the NWA numbers are okay, but not enough for them to fully fund the wrestling promotion based on the YouTube numbers. Hoping that the agreement that they have with Roku, those advertising dollars, turn into something bigger for the National Wrestling Alliance.
yeah. I think that this could be a bigger opportunity for them, or it is a bigger opportunity. Like you said, the ad revenue I think could be a better opportunity. I don't know what you know what they would get for. I know what we get. You know what I mean, as far as like
Yeah,
the whole monetization thing for YouTube, but Billy needs to pay out a lot as far as like talent and production fees and stuff like that is after receiving everything basically. So there's a lot that goes into that, and I don't think they're getting thousands upon thousands of viewers, not at least at first, right? I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers in a long time for the NWA. Well, at least on Twitch I haven't, or X, because I just kind of would watch it on my laptop and talk about it Thursday nights with you guys. So it's like I haven't really been paying attention to the numbers, but I just knew that it was a bad platform for them, and I think that it was just kind of an easy upload for them to be able to continue their TV show while they didn't have a place necessarily to fix it to put it after the whole CW deal fell through.
and I think the thing is Billy was very outspoken about how they did not want to bring Powerrr back to YouTube. They don't
Right.
mind using YouTube as a platform. They don't mind having individual matches there and shorts and involving all of that kind of content on YouTube. But they wanted where Powerrr would reside would be kind of dedicated to just Powerrr. And it never made sense to be on a platform that was known for short microblogging posts. I never have once thought of X as a place to go consume video content. There's a lot of other places out there that you can consume video content, but I never once thought of X as that being that platform. It never made sense. But he
Yeah.
did say that they didn't want to go back to YouTube, and they were still searching for the next deal. You're right. I think it was a stopgap, and I think they didn't really have a plan what they were going to do, and they just stayed there until they found one.
Have you heard any story about how the Roku deal came up? Or is that something that they made the contact, or Roku Sports came to them?
So I haven't heard anything from the NWA,
Right.
and nobody in the NWA. I don't have a direct correlation to anyone in the office. So
Right.
anytime I speculate on things, it's not from a leaked source information. But I do have friends who are in the business of promoting professional wrestling, and I know
Right.
that Roku deal that they signed with the NWA was available to a few different wrestling promotions. The NWA was the one that jumped on it, and obviously they needed it. I think more than some of the other promotions. MLW seems to be doing okay on YouTube as a platform. The United Wrestling Network, I mean, its show is syndicated, and that's where they make most of their ad revenues from the syndication that they're on. And it doesn't hurt that they're also on the Memphis YouTube channel where they're sharing all those numbers together too. So
Right.
for me, it made sense for the NWA. Again, don't know dollar amounts, don't know who sought out who, but I know that offer was made available to more than just the NWA.
Really? Do you know what the other companies were, or would you not rather not speak of it?
Well, I don't think anyone's going to come after me. Championship Wrestling from Hollywood.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
but I think
same.
they're. I think United Wrestling or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I think they're doing fine on the multiple platforms that they're on. They're on various different like syndicated networks, and we get them out here on the New England Sports Network. We're the home of the Boston Red Sox. I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw that back at you. That I'm a Red Sox fan. So, um, and I always watch it on YouTube though. I tend to support the Memphis YouTube. I watch the Memphis and the Hollywood show each and every week on the YouTube because it's easier access for me to be honest with you.
And 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 dealing with Dave, and I know Dave
Yeah,
Marquez very well. And I don't think I'm talking out of line here, but he also promotes a lot of, not promotes, produces a lot of mixed martial arts, combat sports,
right.
and he has said since day one that combat sports is much more lucrative for producing television than pro wrestling. Um, what he gets, what the production budget would be for combat sports, is like 1/5 of what they would get for a wrestling show.
Wow.
So knowing that, and knowing that, I'm assuming Roku is, again, I don't know what the deal entails. I have no knowledge of what the deal entails, but I'm assuming that it's like a profit share. And I don't feel like, I don't know, I don't think that there's anything special incentive about it. I feel like the NWA is getting paid for their content on the Wrestling Central, which I think that's owned by Paramount, I believe is the parent company. So I'm sure they're getting compensated for that footage that's appearing on Wrestling Central. And then I think they're splitting ad revenue with Roku Sports to be on the Roku app.
Okay. All right. It makes sense. It makes sense. So let's get into Power. Of course, this was from matches airing from the Crockett Cup from this year. You were in attendance there. This took place. I don't remember when it took place. When it took place? April?
I think it was in May,
May.
and I don't
Okay.
remember the exact date. Like maybe May 27th.
Okay. So we had to wait roughly May, June, July, 2 months for this to start airing because I guess they had a gigantic backlog of videos that they or television recordings that they had already sitting there waiting.
It was May 17th. Yeah.
May 17th.
Yeah. And so like that was the other thing. Like the filming schedule for the National Wrestling Alliance certainly hurts. It hurts people being excited about it, right? Because
Right.
Hard Times, which was the last series to air on X, was filmed back in March.
Mm-hmm.
Now they still do things in between. So like in April, they did do the Grilled Cheese Festival in Sacramento, California. So they did have 2 days of live wrestling, but it wasn't filmed or anything.
Right.
And then in May, they did Crockett Cup. In June, they did, I think, TV tapings in Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a couple Florida TV tapings, and I think they were recently advertising another one, if I'm not mistaken, as well, that I saw on their social media coming up.
Yeah, so forgive me, they didn't do anything in June. July, they did a Tampa TV taping. Then in August, they'll have the 77th anniversary show. And then in September, they already have a TV taping planned in Tampa. So,
Okay.
like, at least on the outside looking in, they have seemed to be a little bit more proactive about their schedules of events. But they had taped a lot of stuff going back to the end of 2024, and everything was parsed out because they were, I guess, being very careful about what filming in advance in case there were problems of having more shows.
Right.
Because sadly we lost Jack Stain on Christmas of 2024. The event, I guess it was Saul Wynn, he was supposed to be at and no showed, and nobody knew why he wasn't there. I'm sorry, not Saul Wynn. Shockwave. He was supposed to be at Shockwave,
Okay.
but no showed, and nobody understood. Like, well, where's Jax? And one person knew, and he wasn't going to say about where Jax was. And they had, they filmed everything, and then it came out he had passed away, and they did as good a job as they could to kind of acknowledge that he had passed away on the edits, and they had, hey, this was his last match that he filmed for the NWA, which was very classy. I think they handled it well, but he passed away in December, and really the TV didn't get caught up to that until probably March or April.
Right.
So it's
And
just
they seem to emotionally kind of struggle a little bit during shortly after for a little while. It seemed because I believe that Jax, Billy, and the whole entire crew had a really great relationship, or it seems on the way that I see it.
yeah. I mean, as far as I know, it's the entire roster is very close knit,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Billy paints it as it's us versus the world, because again, it's similar to the fashion that Paul Lee and ECW, they had to be. It has to be us versus them, because if it's not, like, why? If this isn't a family, then why are we here?
Right.
They're better paying gigs out there, and honestly, the way the NWA runs currently, and it sounds bad, but it's part time.
Yes.
There one show a month is not a full time wrestling promotion.
No, and then there's guys, they work other indies, excuse me, along the way to fill up the rest of that time period.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it this way, that, in 2025, the NWA filmed an event in Dothan, they filmed an event in Forney, Texas, and they filmed an event in Philly. And then they have like the Tampa stuff that's coming up. Like, not a lot, not a lot of stuff. And if you're a wrestler and you're looking to get, noticed, we saw Ella Envy do that. She stepped away from the NWA, not because she wasn't being used well. She was a tag team champion. She's right. The greatest tag team champion in the NWA women's division history. But she stepped away because I think, and I can't speak for her. The assumption is that she was probably looking for greater opportunities.
Right. Right. Yeah. And like you said, it's them versus the world, because they want the whole entire product to succeed and to get to that next level. And hopefully with this Roku deal, they'll be able to get there. It's like a lot of people don't. I think I find it interesting at this day and age that Roku's been around for a number of years. And I was just talking to my buddy, and it's like he doesn't even have a Roku, like, after however many years. You know what I mean? I find it at this day, Roku's been around, what, roughly 15 or so years, probably closer to 20, maybe.
So I remember hearing about Roku when I worked at Best Buy, and I stopped working at Best Buy in 2006. So,
right. Okay. Wow.
That you're right back. About 20 years.
Yeah, I bought one of the original ones. It was like a metal box, really. So, yeah. As opposed to now, there's like various different versions. So, and the technology has come very far for that particular for Roku. But I think that I forgot where I was going with this. Jesus Christ, Jay.
Well, with
my
the
point
Roku,
of with the Roku. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just you were talking about Roku and how people maybe are unfamiliar with the app.
Oh, yes, they're unfamiliar with what Roku is still at this time period. There's a lot of people that know it. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He doesn't even own one, or didn't even really know what it was. And I was like, dude, you're like out of date. If you want to watch this, you get all sorts of stuff on a Roku, not just professional wrestling. All sorts of movies, Netflix, YouTube, anything you could watch. You don't have to watch it on your phone or what have you. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously there's other alternatives like the Fire Stick, but I think there's more to a Roku than possibly like the Fire Stick. Personal preference, really.
Well, and for me, don't get mad. So in this house that I live in, is these little human beings dictate what happens to the television. Oh. So like we pay for Netflix, we pay for Disney Plus, we pay for Peacock, but that's more for me and Mom. We pay for Paramount, and we also pay for what's the other one? HBO Max. So I'm basically paying for cable at this point. Like, there is no incentive to be cableless in this house. However, I don't really have much authority on that television that we all watch. Occasionally, I'll get to watch The Office. Occasionally, we can watch some Saturday night's main event when that comes up, or WrestleMania. And occasionally, when something cool comes out on Disney Plus, I'll get to throw my weight around. Like, no, we are watching Daredevil, and if you don't like it, you can go to your room.
I mean, we have multiple televisions in this. I mean, we have two different living rooms. Like we have like a spare, like a den, I guess you can call it.
Yeah,
and then the gigantic living room, and then I have a finished basement as well. So if my kids and my wife are occupying that, I will just be like, all right, I'm going downstairs to watch SummerSlam or what have you, or watch wrestling, whatever, for hours upon hours. And I also have this little studio room that I built the studio in that I able to watch stuff in.
Yeah. Oh, and this is where I watch all of my NWA content, whether it was on X or the CW app before, YouTube, Triller, and now Roku. It's all right here, and and that works for me. I've never had a problem with that, and I've been a Roku subscriber since 2021, and I have the free account. Like, I don't pay for anything, but when I want to watch something, like, it's available. I can watch Wrestling Central now. I can watch Roku Sports. I just realized that they have an MLB channel, which I was completely unaware of, and they do like baseball games, but they compress them. So like you get the game like in an hour, and I'm like, what? I could be watching Angel games this whole time. Like, I don't care if it's only an hour. That's cool. So I'm excited about that option of being able to watch and Major League Baseball and that route.
Yeah. There's a lot on there. There's a TNA channel as well. There's various mixed martial arts channels. You know what I mean? Probably like 3 or 4 different ones. Which that stuff's really popular. I haven't really watched much of that in the last few years, but so the Roku is you could download, there's multiple different apps on the Roku that you can also download on top of just that one Roku channel as well. You know what I mean? Like you said, Netflix, basically, like you said, we pay for cable, but we're probably paying even more because we have all those super apps, like this particular apps in Peacock is actually included in my cable bill. Believe it or not, it's like they get it. The Comcast, if you had it, it's free. The $5 tier is free. So I watch WrestleMania, but after the matches, there's just freaking commercials and stuff like that. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm not going to pay the $10 to get a commercial to pay.
Right.
So I mean, and I've utilized it. I mean, just like I used to utilize the WWE Network all the time. In Peacock, I sat there and watched 3 years of primetime wrestling in probably 2 weeks. So, because I got obsessed with 87, 88, and 89 for some reason.
Well, what happened to Jameson?
He was at school. So,
No. There was. I'm sorry.
Oh, the guy. I thought you were talking about. That's my son's name. So
I didn't put 2 and 2 together till just now. They threw Jameson off the building.
Yeah,
remember that?
I do remember. That was definitely a weird period for that stuff. So yeah, but there's so many streaming apps. Wrestling is just all over the place now. There's a lot of really great ways to stream stuff. It's the Roku's just a great. If anybody that doesn't have Roku, anybody that's listening, it costs you $20 to go buy a Roku box these days. That's the cheapest model you can have, and it's like it's well worth it because there's also, if you don't feel like if you're already paying for Netflix and stuff like that, you know what I mean? There's just all sorts of free content on. You can find tons and tons of free content on there that you're just going to love and enjoy.
And a lot of TVs now too, like the smart TVs are built with Roku right inside. Like my daughters, I guess it was like 2 years ago, they finally, we gave them their own rooms. So like the 12-year-old and the 10-year-old now have their own rooms. Well, you got to put a TV in there because if I can get them to watch TV in their room, it means I can watch TV in my room or downstairs and be good for it. So I bought them like relatively cheap. I think it was like $150 at Best Buy, and both of them came with the Roku app. And I'm like, let's go. Let's. But we don't. We haven't used Roku to its fullest extent. So that the one of the good things about the NWA being on Roku is now my eyes are opening up a little bit. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, I don't use the actual cable box at all.
Yeah.
In the living room, I just go immediately to the Roku. My wife will watch the cable, or my father. My father lives with us, so it's just I don't know. I'm more used to the streaming now because I have access to whatever. If I'm looking for a particular movie, I type it into the search bar on Roku. It comes up to whatever app it's on, and then if I need to download the app, I'll download the app, or. So yeah, man, it's just it's a great platform. It's a great thing, and now the NWA is a part of it, and to me, it's gonna be great things for the NWA. Personally, that's what I think, and I was wildly impressed with this debut today on Roku. I thought it was fun. So I thought the introduction to the show, I thought it was a great introduction going into, the historic photos of guys like Harley Race and stuff like that, and talking about the legacy of the NWA and the Crockett Cup and stuff like that. I thought that was a really good intro. And then we go to the ring, and they're going to a David Crockett Invitational Battle Royal, and the winners get the number 12 seed. And there was a bunch of names. I really had no idea who they were. But I'm sure you probably felt the same.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. But the names that did stick out, obviously, internet TikTok sensation, Jack Vaughn. So, who I was kind of excited to see that guy. Beastman was in there. I've seen Beastman work for numerous organizations, including the NAWA. He's been a part of MLW. Fox Vineyard. Obviously, I posted a picture of me and Fox not so long ago. He worked a show here. I've had the opportunity to work with Fox in several Connecticut promotions here. Great guy. And Sam Stackhouse, and obviously the Slime Balls. And it was kind of a predictable ending, if you will, that the Slime Balls, one being the one, from my recollection, from viewing this, that they were the one consistent NWA talents that were in that matchup in the Battle Royal.
Yeah. I mean, some of those guys that you mentioned, like the Temple of Dun, we've seen them a couple of times on NWA programming. Mr. Grimm, he's had a handful of matches in the NWA. But yeah, the Slime Balls were in fact like the tag team that we have acknowledged day in, day out. They are very much NWA, and of course with the skits that they did in Dothan, like they were almost shoved down our throat. It was a bit much, but I was very impressed with those boys of Slime. I mean, they looked like a different tag team, and I don't know if this was a coming out party for them or what, but the last time we saw them on TV, they were getting gored by Rhino. And then before that, they were wrestling Murdoch,
the ladder match,
and Knox, and getting the absolute crap kicked out of them. So to see them in that Rumble position, and like, look, there were some tough dudes in there, and that JV squad, that Jack Vaughn squad, is no joke, man. I think his name was Dylan McKenzie. That dude was legit. I like that guy. I hope both him and Jack Vaughn come back.
Yeah, I'd love to see. That's the thing about Jack Vaughn. It's like I've seen him in OVW quite a bit.
Yep.
But I don't really see him anywhere else on TV, and I thought that he'd probably be a really good fit to come into the NWA.
And he works some of the Exodus Pro shows too. So
okay,
I mean, there is a correlation between him and the NWA, and it wouldn't be difficult for him to find his way back if the NWA is willing. And and then you brought up Fox Viner, which wasn't aware of this, didn't know who he was. Sorry, did not know who he was. There was a girl selling Crockett Cup cookies, sugar cookies.
Oh boy.
And I didn't even buy it. My friend Milk Mascaris, aka Jaden, went and bought 2 of them and is like, "Here, I got you a cookie." And it came with an autographed picture of Fox Viner. And I'm like, what a strategy, man. What a brilliant move. You gave me value without even knowing who the heck you are. Not only did I get this delicious cookie that I did enjoy very thoroughly, but I got an autographed picture of this guy. And like, I know it sounds like stupid or weird or whatever, but like, as
No, it's a
somebody
great
who
marketing. It's great marketing to try to
I
get his name out there more.
and because of that, you know what I did? I went and started following him on YouTube, followed him on Instagram, and at the very least, he's got one more subscriber, one more follower. And then I started checking out his career, and he's actually wrestled a couple of matches for the NWA with its sister promotions. Like it did those live events in New York, and then had
Hmm.
also worked in Exodus Pro. So he
He
has.
was he was at 76 in one of the pre-show matches. I don't
Okay.
know if you caught that at all. He was in a tag team match because there was a lot of people in and out of the room at that time period for the pre-show matches, not necessarily paying a lot of attention, but he was in one of the tag matches for 76 as well.
I do remember there was that tag team match, but like I wasn't paying a ton of attention about
Yeah,
it. So yeah, I mean, so cool. I've seen him twice and I didn't even know it both times. Like
yeah.
I didn't know that's who he was in the match. And in fact, it was like after I posted on Instagram about the photo, and I'm looking, I'm like, I actually have film of him in the ring. Even better. So like now it's like, okay, I'm rooting for that guy just because of a dumb cookie, you know?
Of course, the Slime Balls win, like I said,
Yeah.
and they immediately go right into the match. Blunt force trauma come out, and they kind of I couldn't believe this, but the slime they came in. It was kind of going like a blunt force trauma was being blunt force trauma in the beginning, but somehow the Slime Balls snuck the win, and I was kind of surprised at the result of this match that they took that victory.
I was surprised there. I was uh so when we were there, obviously we didn't know what was going to happen next. There was no
Right.
match card, and obviously because this was filmed for television, they didn't have like, oh, okay, well this is the next round of the Crockett Cup. Uh, and honestly, I thought I came up with a pretty decent sheet with all the brackets, right? Because I figured we would use it for the podcast later. No, it wasn't even like that. So
No.
like the 20 teams that they announced, well, no, they were all in that battle royal. So um, seeing BFT come out, at first Aaron Stevens wasn't there, so like, what's going on? And then Stevens comes out, and it just was kind of like, okay, like that was weird. Why would you have the Slime Balls go over just to put over BFT here? And BFT put the beating on Sage, and I got to tell you, this boy, this young man, has taken a beating from Mike Knox, Trevor Murdoch multiple times. Now he's getting it from Carnage and Damage from BFT. And it's one of those, maybe it's because we're in the ECW arena, having flashbacks to Tommy Dreamer getting caned. You know, he earned some respect. As far as I'm concerned, Sage earned some respect. And it made me look at this team a little bit differently. And I'm like, huh.
You know, we've said that a few times over the last few weeks between that match with Knox and Murdoch, and then this match here, this the Battle Royal victory, and the match with Blunt Force Trauma. Like they might be coming into something different, and I'm starting to. I spent a long time knocking the Slime Balls. But now I'm starting after that match with Knox and Murdoch. I started to appreciate them. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and now today, I don't know, man. I'm starting to appreciate them. They could be on their way to something great here in the NWA now with this.
And I will second that I wasn't the huge Slimeball fan. Like there's two guys I really dislike in the NWA. That's Brian Idol and Carson Bartholomew Drake, with the slime balls being like right below that.
Yeah,
But and I saw this Crockett Cup match. I was there, so I saw that before I actually saw their matches at Hard Time, and I'm like, wow, they really put them through the ringer. And I wonder if this is going to lead to like something bigger for them down the road. And then you go and watch what happened in Dothan at Hard Times. You're like, yeah, they are definitely building towards something. And maybe it's just getting their butt kicked too, or maybe they just have to go through the ringer for a bit. But yeah, I mean, they really manned up at the Crockett Cup, winning both the Battle Royal and then beating Blunt Force Trauma, former tag team champions, Blunt Force Trauma. So yeah, much respect to Sage and I can't think of his partner's name.
I
The
don't
Slime
know.
Balls.
Did you see that Sage, when he was getting his ass handed to him in the corner, kind of looked like Tony Danza a little bit, getting his ass kicked?
Yeah,
I was like, that dude looks like Tony Danza.
dude, that's a great call. And then when he cut the promo later in the night, he certainly looked like Tony Danza. I've always said he reminded me of a young guy named Johnny Yuma.
Okay.
You know who Johnny Yuma is?
I'm trying to. I know the name. I'm trying to remember the face though. So, but
Go
I'm pretty. Yeah,
when
I
you
have my
have
computer
time.
right in front of me. Right.
Go look up the Rockness Monsters. Go look up Johnny Yuma, and they're practically the same person, minus the Tony Danza likeness.
Yeah, I can't find it right now. I'm gonna spend more time looking than I should be talking about Power. So,
That's fair.
but Aaron Stevens is pissed off. He backs the ref into the corner, and then out comes Baron von Storm, who to make the save, and then puts Stevens in the Iron Claw, and I don't know. I'm happy. I kind of popped a little bit about this. So, honestly, I don't pop often, but I love Tim Storm and I love the Baron von Storm gimmick. And mind you, it might be he's just kind of in his waning days, I guess, as a professional wrestler. And I thought this was kind of enjoyable, but then he had to. I'm not familiar with the gentleman's name that had to break it up. They came out and broke it up. I'm sorry.
Soda Pop.
Soda Pop. Okay. Okay.
This was for me. This was so.
It was hokey. It was hokey a little bit. So
I revere Tim Storm.
yes.
I loved what he did for the NWA. I loved what he tried to do for the NWA. I loved how he carried himself with so much class and dignity. A lot of people told him to take the money and run when it came to Billy Corgan. And he could have dropped that title in Japan to somebody and got a huge payday, and he did the right thing. And I feel like Billy's always treated him well since that. But, man,
Yeah.
I don't like this Baron von Storm gimmick. Man, I don't like...
It's Baron von Raschke, basically. In a way.
Oh, and I completely understand that.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's kind of corny, but I don't know. Tim isn't doing a whole lot right at this time at his age. You know what I mean? So every now and again, and I'm not saying it's like the greatest thing on earth either, because God knows it's not. But every now and again, you get to see somebody that's like you've watched for a long time or a veteran come out and do a little bit. It's kind of enjoyable, and that's kind of what it is here for me. I'm not saying I'd much rather see Tim as in watching Tim and all this, saying like those are classic moments for the NWA. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
And with that being said, I'm glad he still has a job, right? And I think the original plan was for him and Jax to do something with the U.S. tag titles, and obviously that would have made a lot of sense because Baron could have come in and do a few moves, Jax could have done the majority of the workload, and you could have celebrated them as tag team champions. The titles at 1, Jax never held the U.S. tag titles, and 2, it gives Tim something to do as he winds up his career. If they want to continue to use him in this fashion, or maybe even put him in a tag team with Soda Pop, like I could live with that. But I don't necessarily want to do that. And if it could be avoided, I'd rather it be avoided.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and I'm glad Tim got a payday.
Yeah, of course. Then we went. So we've spent many, many times on the Alliance Guys podcast talking about some of the skits on Power in the last couple months, from the anger management classes and whatnot. However, this week we go to the NWA territory headquarters, behind the scenes footage, so to speak, quote, and this was not nearly as painful as any of the skits had been in the last couple months. This was short, quick, not that embarrassing, I guess you could say, to say I'm watching a professional wrestling show. It was short, to the point, and I love Joe Kazana. I really do. I think he's a great, he's a great back in his day. He's a great asset to the National Wrestling Alliance today, I think, and that's pretty much it. It's like I said, it just was not nearly as painful to watch as anything that they had done similar in the last few months.
This was exactly what you want to do with these type of moments. Obviously, they're planting some seeds there, as we see from the second skit. They have an angle that doesn't necessarily require in-ring action that they're trying to tell. They're painting a story for us here. I could not get behind whatever they were trying to accomplish in Dothan or what they were trying to accomplish in Forney or Tampa or any of the other skits that had emerged in the last year. But this was very brief, and it's conveying a story. And as long as that story eventually comes back to the ring, I think it's going to be fine.
Yes.
What I also really liked about this segment is it was right there with some wrestling promos too. Not interviews, not backstage segments, promos. Good old fashioned who we are, what we do, and the slime balls get out there and talk about how they just beat Blunt Force Trauma, and now they're headed to the Crockett Cup Finals. Now, obviously, they're overstating, but that's what you're supposed to do in a promo. You have Carson Drake doing his little dance in the back, whatever. These promos are a lot less.
They're not as painful. They're not painful. Like, we were talking on the Alliance Guys show for a couple months how there should be backstage interviews or something like that, as opposed to the skits, the whatever they were doing, whatever you want to call them. And these promos were right along the lines, I think, that we all agreed on that they should be doing. It's not painful to watch. They're just simple promos that are going to get those characters over and make you want to tune in the following week, etc.
Our buddies will say differently, but I feel like it was.
We'll find out Thursday. But
yeah, I feel like I was comfortable with what they were feeding me. It didn't have a bad taste.
Absolutely. Of course, we saw the Lost take on EC3 and PB Smooth. EC3 and PB Smooth representing NWA Exodus Pro. EC3 and PB take the victory here. This, while the first match and segment of the show kind of was like really action packed, this kind of slowed down the pace of the show a little bit. Not to say that it's bad. It didn't seem like the crowd was 100% into it. It did seem like there was some fans in the arena that were completely into it, but it was just something that was slower paced, and I think it was pretty decent. It did what it needed to do, I think.
I think when you've got a guy like PB Smooth,
he is a big dude.
The action deliberately slows down because he's a giant. He's an NWA giant. Him and Talus right now, the two big guys of the NWA.
Yeah.
And first off, the entrance for EC3 and Pretty Boy Smooth felt right out of Fight Club. And I was there for it. I was digging it. I'm like, wait a minute. In Tyler We Trust. Let's go. It felt very non EC3, where this last year we've been hearing about the Overlord or the Overman or whatever, and this kind of felt more like akin to what he was doing in NXT, more like what he was in TNA wrestling. So I just kind of felt like, wait a minute, who is this guy? Because this isn't the EC3 we've had for the last year.
Yeah,
and he even had the robe, and PB Smooth is just a great heater. I mean, and then Pastor CeeLo with the group just makes it even more fun. As a side note, commentary points out you had Pastor CeeLo and the Sinister Minister there, and it's like the righteous versus the evil, right? And it was it kind of did something for me. It made me chuckle. Alex Misery, holy crap! That kid bumped for both EC3 and PB Smooth, and I really like Crazy Steve. And in the arena, I felt like this match was a hard-hitting, like fast-paced match. Watching it again now for a second time with second set of eyes, you're right. The pace did slow down considerably. Crazy Steve, to me, I think is way underrated, and I can't wait to see what they do next with him. I really hope Misery is the guy to become the next World Junior Heavyweight Champion, because that kid has got some heart on him. And we already know who will be challenging for the tag titles at 77. PB Smooth and EC3 looked really good in this match as a tag team. Not what I was expecting, way better than I anticipated. So in one night, I saw two tag teams who I didn't really have any interest in. All of a sudden, now I'm very interested in. Good job,
Yeah,
NWA.
yeah, yeah. And I think, like you said, a lot of heart with that Alex Misery fella. That kid is really damn good. And like you said, probably future junior heavyweight champion. That could be the next star in that division for the NWA because it's something that it's been kind of stagnant for a while. Ever since Alex Taylor has had that title, it hasn't been really focused on that much. And it's something that they really need to step up the game with because when they first brought that title back, they were really focusing on it quite a bit with guys like Homicide and such. And now it just seems like they're not really even doing much with it at all. And Alex Misery, I think, can be that guy to feature on TV each and every week with that belt.
I think a byproduct of abandoning the second show, the NWA USA, you lost a lot of focus on some of the secondary titles.
Yeah.
And the World Junior Heavyweight Championship, you're right. I feel like it has been mostly dormant under Alex Taylor. Not because he's not a good wrestler or somebody who could do something with the belt, but just for the lack of focus. Seems like the Southern Six have been more preoccupied with, the feud with Colby Carino and Brian Idol, or the Southern Six feuding with the Country Gentlemen. I don't feel like they've really been focused on Alex Taylor defending that junior heavyweight title. I mean, look, last year at the Crockett Cup, it was AT and Kerry Morton as your Crockett Cup winners. Like, they put him in a tag tournament, which occupied months of television.
Right.
And then mostly that's where he's been wrestling still, is either with Thrillbilly or Morton as a tag team wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully with this whole Roku deal, more things will come to fruition here. Hopefully, though, I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe a secondary show returning. Hopefully that, because I think that they kind of need it, especially because they're not taking any of the titles away. They're just kind of shoving them to the side, putting them in other territories for the time being. And it's kind of frustrating when you're watching, the United States Tag Champs on TV, and then they said, "Oh yeah, now it's a territory title." All of a sudden, it's a territory title, and it was kind of frustrating to watch because growing up, I was watching each and every week World Tag Championships, following week US, and it would alter each and every week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And like, furthermore, like, last year they crowned the Mid American Champion on
Haven't seen him. Yeah,
on an episode of Power, and we're only seeing JP Jeremiah Plunkett as a backup dancer. He's part of the entourage that is Aaron Stevens' studio or whatever they're calling it, and he is so much better than that. But you play the cards that are dealt, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's became basically a title that's now defended only at the Joe Casana Promotions. So, I mean, I would like for them to do more things where they bring in some of their territory champions, guys like that. So it would, and Jeremiah Plunkett was on regular NWA Powerrr for quite some time. It seemed for a good year or so, consistently, and I really got to really enjoy him, watching him, because I thought he had an old school style presence, an old school style professional wrestling presence, and I really enjoyed that. That's kind of my bag when it comes to professional wrestling.
Well, and if I could just make the case for Jeremiah Plunkett, I mean, he will work with whatever they give him. I mean, he was in the Ill Begotten. They put him with Alex Taylor and what's his name?
Oh crap! I know exactly what you're saying. I can't think of it offhand. He ran with everything they've given him. And you got to remember, this is a guy who, at one point, for the NWA in the South and the SAW Saw Wrestling, he was one of the guys they used to challenge for the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion when Satoshi Kojima was world champion. I mean, that's how over he was back then. Right. And he's only gotten better now. Like, he's in much better shape. Props to you, JP, if you're listening. He looks good, cuts a solid promo, has an old school vibe that I think the NWA desperately needs to cling to. Yeah. I can't put him over any more than that. No, I mean, I get exactly what you're saying. So the television main event, two guys that we mentioned various times that we don't really care to watch.
I
They
will
had to
say,
put them together in the main event for us to watch. I tell you.
I'll say this, and I'll let you get to the match results, but this is the first time that both of them look pretty good to me.
Yeah.
And that hurts to say, Rick. I don't like these guys. I don't want to put them over at all, but this worked. This worked.
Of course, this was for the vacant NWA Television Championship, and yet Billy was still on commentary. Still on commentary. I heard his voice and I got so annoyed, like nails on a chalkboard. But Brian Idol needs to take the braids out of his hair. It looks ridiculous. Although, so, enough attacking each of these guys personally. I thought that
enough bad things about Carson Drake yet.
Not yet, because he didn't annoy me nearly as much as Brian Idol did with the braids or his wrestling or whatever. Carson Drake has not had as many years in the ring as Brian Idol, so maybe I'm a little bit more forgiving because he's still learning his craft in a way. But this was a pretty decent match. It seemed kind of short for me. They were going at it, and then it all of a sudden just seemed to end. Like they kind of did the build up like they just ran into the build up kind of all of a sudden, it seemed. That's just my opinion. Unless I just wasn't paying close enough attention, which I was trying to, and it just seemed a little too short. I mean, it ended 7 minutes before the hour.
I agree that I felt like this match just kind of finished out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and there might have been an issue in the ring. Like I don't really know. When I was there live, I was happy that it was over. You know, like I was like, all right, you know. But like looking back at it with a second set of eyes, the match was fine.
Yeah,
it was not gonna. It's not gonna win any Meltzer awards, right? But it also wasn't the worst match I've ever seen, and both guys did a pretty decent job of the match. But yeah, the ending kind of came out of the blue, and I to be honest, I was just really happy that it wasn't Carson Drake. I don't want Brian Idol to have a long run with this title, and I don't even care if Carson Drake wins the title back from Brian Idol. I just didn't want him to Chris Masters this, where he forfeited the title to challenge for the world title and then go and win the title back like nothing happened.
right.
I like the fact that he lost and was not able to remain TV champion. Now, you know, there's such a core of guys who I think have a lot of potential. We were talking about Crazy Steve. We're talking about, I'll throw it out there, Kerry Morton. I'll throw it out there as well, Colby Corino, and even somebody like Daisy Kills. Each one of these guys are very talented, but I don't think they're ready for a shot at the World's Heavyweight Championship. So if it were to happen that one of these guys could win the TV title and have it for a few weeks, a few months before dropping it to the next guy, not with a hot potato so much as the intention of the television title was always to be a title that kind of spotlights somebody for a short time and then you pass it on to the next guy.
It's supposed to be like the workhorse title as well, like that kind of a thing, similar to like the Intercontinental, but you know. Yeah.
So you have enough guys. I just listed 4 of them, but you could probably throw Spencer Slade on there. You could probably throw Mike Mondo on there. A lot of good, talented guys who would make a great TV champion, even if it's just for a short run, even if it's just for a few weeks. So I'm hoping that Brian Idol doesn't dominate the title like Carson Drake did, and even if Carson were to win it back, I hope that it's short runs. Yeah. You know, there's nothing wrong with a guy saying, "Hey, I'm a 10-time TV champion. Like, let's go." I'm all about that.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good. It wasn't a terrible match. I've seen worse Brian Idol matches. Definitely seen worse Carson Drake matches. Overall, I thought that the debut edition of Powerrr on Roku hit all the right spots. Was it perfect? Not by any means. There's going to be a lot of kinks that need to be worked out, obviously. But they made that statement that they were coming and that they were going to be doing, basically they're coming back to as the NWA and they're going to come full force. And that whole State of the World address that Billy made a couple months ago. And I think that this is definitely the first step in that right direction for the NWA because I enjoyed this. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it as much as the debut of Powerrr, that those first studio tapings, but I definitely enjoyed this a whole hell of a lot.
If we're comparing it to the original Powerrr, it's still streets
Miles
behind.
away. Yeah.
But when we talk about what it is compared to what we've been watching, a huge upgrade all
Yeah.
across the board. And
Right.
even Billy's commentary, it did. Initially, I was all right, but towards the end of the show, I'm like, okay, Billy. I always hate when he starts questioning about where he should seed people. It's like, you're the president. That's your decision to make. Why are you letting Danny Dills give you trouble about that?
And I think the comedic. I mean, I think that Danny Deals is comedic gold. Honestly,
Yes.
I've literally watched the show and burst out laughing from some of the one-liners that he's put out there, and also Joe Galley to me is the man today as far as like straight man commentators. I think that dude is phenomenal, and I think he's only going to get better over time.
And don't sleep on Galley either, because he'll have some one liners there too. Like,
Yeah,
he got him right in the slime balls. That popped me way harder than it should have. But yeah, overall, I feel like this was a much better offering from the NWA. If I am a fan of wrestling and never watched the NWA before, and I turned on Roku and saw this, I would be interested to see what happens next week. Nothing so bad that I was embarrassed that I'd be like, nah, this is garbage, and turning it off. But yeah, there could have been some areas of improvement. There could have been some areas where, they could have done a few things to make it better, but they could have done a lot of things to make it worse, and they didn't do that. So I'm going to give them credit for it.
I thought the production value of the television show itself was a step up by miles than it was just a couple weeks ago. Their last brand new episode, I thought.
Well, and what they do? They threw out the Carson Drake like split screen where he was doing the thing, and anyway.
Yeah, it was good, and I really enjoyed it. And for everybody that's watching, if you haven't seen it, it's 8 o'clock every Tuesday night. A replay at 11. Actually, these are Eastern time hours. So I discovered that there's the replays on at 11. Go ahead.
And it's now available on demand. In fact, it was available on demand before it was actually available live.
You know, I was researching it, and I saw, and I thought that, and I was like, and I went, and I was like, there's no way it's the new episode, so I just kind of walked away from it. So I wasn't 100% sure. If I knew that, we could have done this episode a lot earlier in the day.
I thought about messaging you, but like it was all around the same time to me anyway, so I was like, let's just go. We'll keep it as is. But
yeah, I thought that it was going to be fresh at 8 o'clock and not. So next time we know. Next time I pull you in for a Powerrr episode. So,
yeah.
So Jay, why don't you tell everybody, of course, where you can find the Alliance guys and all that stuff.
Well, the simple thing is, my name is Jake Howell, and I represent the Alliance blog, and you can find us on all social media at the Alliance blog. That's Meta, your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your X, your Blue Sky, Tumblr, Pinterest, and I think I still have a Friendster, maybe Farmers Only. I don't know. There's some other places you can find.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't want to know. But we're everywhere at the Alliance blog. We go live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, where we do the pre-show. We call it the pre-party, and that's where we talk about the NWA, get you hyped up for this week's episode of Powerrr, and really kind of just fill in the gaps that the NWA kind of forgot to mention. And then on Thursdays, Rick joins me and my band of merry men as we talk about the post-show of the NWA, and that's the Alliance guys. And that's DKM, Jaden, and Rick and myself. We discuss the pros and cons of pro wrestling with emphasis on the National Wrestling Alliance, what they're doing, what's going on. And sometimes we'll spill into other topics like good pizza in Connecticut.
That's why I'm going to give you the pizza tour when you come out here sometime. So
we'll have to figure it out somehow, because I love me good pizza.
There's a whole block that's got like 3 or 4 great pizza places, and just come hungry and ready for pizza and beer. So
how how do you pick if there's like 2 or 3 good ones? Like if I find one good pizza place, like okay, that's my pizza place. How do
I
you
know
find
what
two?
I know what my favorite is, and then everybody else's favorite just so happens. Well, not everybody else's, but it's split between two on the same street, really. And then there's a couple others in the area as well that are very, 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 very good. I'm a Sally's guy, and a lot of people like Modern, which is down the road a little bit. And then a lot of people really love Pepe's as well. But Modern tends to be the one that wins all the awards every year. Sally's and Pepe's are the two originals from the Worcester Square area of New Haven. If you haven't seen it, go online and watch Pizza: A Love Story. It's a documentary about New Haven pizza. My friend Dean has a lot of production in there. You'll see guys like Henry Winkler in there, Jerry Only of the Misfits. You'll see lots of really cool celebrities, some local celebrities in it. And I think that you'll find a lot of really great history about New Haven pizza.
So is it wrong that I love Costco pizza?
No, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll say yes. But there's a lot of crappy pizza that I shouldn't say crappy, less desirable pizza or something like that. The pizza that's not necessarily New Haven style, I'll eat. I will gladly buy a DiGiorno and eat it out of my home, no problem.
I mean, on the worst days, $5 for a pepperoni at Little Caesars. I mean, $5 is $5, Rick.
Hey, I had a family to feed. I would go to Little Caesars around the corner from me for a long time, for a while because they had the $5 pizzas. You get like 2 or 3 of them. Boom. So we had a
Get couple
family of
of
6.
That you're in
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
Now I
Jay, oh yeah, of course. I'm probably going to have some. Jay, I want to say thank you very much for joining me. And obviously, we're going to have to do this again. Tune in Thursday night, everybody. Go to the Alliance blog on
YouTube.
On YouTube. Thank you very much. Check out the TikTok too, because we're moving over there as well. It's going to be fun, enjoyable.
Taking over.
Yes,
It's like the NWO. We're taking over. It's one social media account at a time.
There you go. You'll have a lot of fun. You get to hear DKM swear, and and we're just going to have a lot of fun.
And hopefully, we don't yell at each other.
We'll see. Well, yell in disagreement. So.
Yes.
Thanks, Jay.
All right.